الله أكبر الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله اما بعد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Brothers and sisters, I ask that we remember our brothers and sisters throughout this ummah of the Prophet Muhammad may be in some difficulty, they are stressed, they may have lost their homes, lost their loved ones, they may be unable to feed their children on a day-to-day basis. They may be struggling because of the influence of the environment in which they live. They may be struggling just to maintain their practice of this being. Whether we know the specific reason for whatever suffering that may be going on in this ummah, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to relieve our brothers and sisters of the suffering. And with any difficulty, let their confronting every difficulty with the guidance of Islam bring them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, just quickly remember our brothers and sisters in Sudan who are going through a continuing crisis over the leadership of the country. There was a ceasefire that seemed to have been holding, this latest ceasefire, and it's been recently broken. So the hostilities have broken out again. And so what we're seeing is Muslims, for the most part, killing other Muslims. And the reason being because of the leadership of the society. Thanks. And then we look in the situation that's unfolding today in Senegal, where we have a presidential candidate being locked up by the president of the country, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but it seems and many people believe that it's because this person may hold serious opposition in the elections next year, so make up a charge and lock him up. That's the internal politics of the nation. What I'm asking us to remember our brothers and sisters in Sudan, that this particular politically motivated event doesn't turn into bloodshed, where we have our Muslim brothers hurting and harming one another. So wherever we find that there's the potential or that there is actual harm being done to our brothers and sisters, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to relieve them of the suffering. Brothers and sisters, I want to share the theme of the Khutbah today. To me, personally, one of the most frightening hadith that from the time I aged a little bit as a Muslim, that it was the scariest and continue to this moment to be the scariest hadith that I have read. This particular hadith is one that once one confronts the reality of what is being said, it should be very frightening to you all as well. Maybe not as scary as it is to me, but it's a very frightening kind of hadith, and we find it in the Sahihs of both Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. And the hadith reads in translation that the Prophet Muhammad has said, by the one where there is no other God, one of you who does the actions of paradise until there's just a hand span between him and paradise, and then the book, the qadr, the divine decree,
overtakes him, and he does the actions of the people of hell, and he enters into it. Brothers and sisters, the idea, the reality, and I want to share a couple of examples through the process of the Khutbah. The reality of having struggled so many years of your life. And only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how long that may be. The years of our life may be 30 years. The years of our life only known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may be 20 years. It may be as a teenager at 17 years old. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how long this qadr, this decree from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how long we have on this earth. So the hadith should not be understood or interpreted that that's just something to be concerned about when I reach an old age. You and I don't know how long Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow us to be on this earth. And the hadith is telling us, and I'm paraphrasing, that there will be individuals who will live their lives as if they are going to paradise. The hadith even mentions that it's just a hand's length, a hand's span away from going to paradise. And then that individual of those would do the actions of the people of Jahannam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that decree, as the Prophet Muhammad has said, that the divine decree for those individuals will catch up with them. They live in a way that everybody is saying, Alhamdulillah, that's a good brother, that's a good sister. Look at all the good things that they've done, but the decree will catch up. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when that catches up, they'll start doing the actions of disbelievers. And no matter how long that lifespan involved, that what they would do at the end of their lives will be such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will condemn them to the fire. Brothers and sisters, there's no guarantee that because we are thankful today that we have the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our hearts today, is that this is how we will feel tomorrow or the next year or the year after that. The Prophet Muhammad has made it clear. This is another one of those kind of, to me, frightening kind of hadith, that you go to bed at night as a believer, but then, or we can reverse it, you start the day as a believer, but then come time of night, you revert to becoming a disbeliever in your heart. Not so much that you have done such horrible things, that you've committed mass murders, that you have robbed banks, that you have done all of these things during the day. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has made it clear that that's how quickly our decree from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change. In the morning, you're a believer. By nighttime, you've done the things in your heart that classify you as a disbeliever, and then the reverse of that as well. Brothers and sisters, I want to just give us a snapshot of individuals from the best generation of Muslims that will ever walk the face of the earth. That's the generation that you know is the generation of the Sahaba. You and I know that during the 5th year of revelation of Quran, that the persecution was so great on the relative handful, and I'm saying relative to the population of Mecca, the relative handful of Muslims that the Prophet Muhammad instructed and directed what came to be about 82 to 85 of his Sahaba. Go to Abyssinia. Go to another country. Go to another continent. Go there, because I know that there's a Christian king who treats everybody fairly. You won't have to worry about what's going to happen to you because of your belief, even though that king is a Christian. Don't worry about that. Do as I tell you to do. This was not like going from Winston-Salem in Greensboro in an air-conditioned car. This was a journey. This was torturous. This was something that women and children and men were making this particular hijrah, this first hijrah of the believers under the leadership of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and they're making hijrah, trusting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trusting the words of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And amongst those who made this hijrah was a brother by the name of Ubaydullah bin Josh. Ubaydullah bin Josh was the first cousin of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He was also the first cousin of Ali, the fourth caliph of Islam, and the nephew of Hamza, the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Ubaydullah was married to the daughter of the leader of the Meccans, of the Quraysh at that time, Abu Sufyan. He was the accepted chief of all of Mecca at this particular time. And Ubaydullah was married to his daughter. And the daughter's name was Ramla bint Abu Sufyan, but she's known better in the history as Habiba. And so the daughter of Abu Sufyan and this relatively new Muslim were amongst those making this hijrah. Ubaydullah got to Abyssinia, and I'm not going to dwell on a lot of details in the interest of time, but Ubaydullah got to Abyssinia as a committed believer, as one that there was hope that this would be someone that help give leadership to this ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Ubaydullah gets to Abyssinia. He's recognized by the believers and the non-believers in Mecca as this is a good brother. We may hate that he's become Muslim, but he's a solid citizen. He's a good brother. Ubaydullah gets to Abyssinia and he starts drinking. He starts getting drunk. And Ubaydullah continues just getting drunk, getting drunk, getting drunk. And then Ubaydullah, after going through this drinking and getting drunk, now Ubaydullah renounces, he apostates. He renounces Islam and says, now I'm a Christian. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I said, we don't know when we talk about this hadith about live your life for so long and like you're going to paradise and you get so close, your hands span, and then you do the deeds that send you to hell, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigns you to Jahannam. And so Ubaydullah starts violating just the basic don't drink alcohol tenets, becomes like a drunk, embraces Christianity, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cut his life short. That the promise that this young man had, the talent that he possessed, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cut his life short, and because he died rejecting La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, he was consigned to the hellfire. Now the Prophet Muhammad and the Syrian literature informs us on two different paths that were taken by this married couple. That the husband becomes a drunk, the husband apostates. The sister, Habiba, got closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She was a good sister. And she got even closer because of the difficulties of her husband. She wanted to make her dua count for something. So they say that Habiba just really just dived into the practice and the study of Islam in Abyssinia. When the Prophet Muhammad heard about what Ubaydullah had done, how he had apostated, how he had started drinking, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took his soul, the Prophet Muhammad sent a message to Abyssinia. Transmit, give my proposal to Habiba. I have a proposal for marriage for this sister. Now, this couple is taking just totally different paths. One apostate, now in the hellfire. And Habiba, who was patient through all of the difficulties that she had gone through because of her husband's actions. That Habiba becomes one of the mothers of the believers. Just by being patient and holding on to her faith, not using the apostasy of her husband or the drinking of her husband as an excuse to quit practicing Islam. There's no guarantee that any of us, no matter what we are doing at this moment as Muslims, there's no guarantee that you and I will die in a state of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us examples of those who rejected the submission and gives us reasons how even you and I can be attracted and fooled by shaitan to fall into certain kinds of traps, that because we're Muslim today, there's no guarantee that we will have this Islam in our hearts tomorrow. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and throughout the Sunnah, the Sirah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we see that there's certain things, and in the Quran itself, that there's certain things that can misdirect us from this deen. The love for power, whether it's on a job or whatever capacity we may be in. The love for status. You know, when you look in all of the stories about Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun, we find that the story of Fir'aun is a person that placed his own personal position and his power above that of submitting to Musa alayhi salam and Harun's message of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That same kind of being fooled by shaitan that you and I should be constantly aware of the blessing that we have this moment of Islam, and then pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we not get duped by things like having worldly power, or we think that we're getting some kind of worldly power, or have some status in the society, that our status means more than our submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just give one other quick example. Then the Quran tells us about Khutbah. We know about Khutbah from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in the Quran, that the man was so wealthy that just the keys to his storehouses where he kept all of his money, that it would be a burden from a group of men just to carry all of those keys. This man was just, as we would say, filthy rich. And Korah was reminded by one from the Bani Israel, don't exalt the way that you're doing. Appreciate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Don't think that it's because of what you know and what you are capable of doing. Korah just kind of flicked him off. No, man, I'm just using slang terminology. I'm a bad guy. I can make money like nobody else can make money. It's because of me. That's who I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for me. And so Allah tells us a story how he's running his mouth like this one day, and then the next day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up the earth and swallowed up not only this arrogant man, but swallowed up all his wealth, all of his riches, all of his property were gone beneath the earth. because of his rejecting of God subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, each and every one of us are capable of submitting to those whisperings of shaitan, like Korah, like Fir'aun, thinking that it's more important to accumulate wealth than it is to follow the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it's more important for me to keep my status in the society. Maybe it's just a status on a job. That it's more important for me not to show that even that I'm Muslim. That I want to hide the fact that I'm Muslim because it may take away some status on my job. I may not get the raise that I think I deserve if they know that I am a believer. And so when we say at least I forgot the exact number, but every single day as we recite Al-Fatiha in every single rakat of our prayer, in all 5 prayers, any nawafil, any sunnah, we're reciting Al-Fatiha and we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show us the straight path. And being seeing it and have to pray to stay on it. All praises be to Allah. We praise Him and seek His assistance against the evils of our minds and against the unsuccessfulness of our actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can guide astray. And whomsoever Allah causes to err as a result of his own actions, no one can guide the right. O Allah, help those who help the religion of Muhammad and countless amongst them. O Allah, disappoint those who try to disgrace the religion of Muhammad and do not make us of those. Brothers and sisters, no matter how confusing events in the societies in which we live all over the world, no matter how confusing, no matter how challenging these events may be, we have to keep our eye on the prize. And the prize is that of Jannah. The prize is not of accumulating money. The prize is not as being known in society as a really good or important person in society. All of those things, when we don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection from the whisperings of shaitan, it makes us more vulnerable to shaitan's whispers. That if any of us think that we are beyond being influenced by the whisperings of shaitan, we're taking our first, second, and third step from moving back from this path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designated as the Siratul Mustaqim. Brothers and sisters, every day we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to die in a state of belief. That it doesn't have to be anything horrible. We don't have to turn into an alcoholic like Ubaydullah did in Abyssinia. We don't have to just go out and murder someone for no reason. We don't have to steal things. We don't have to do things that are serious offenses in order for the strength of our iman to begin to weaken. So if we're not doing it, the purpose of the Khutbah today and moving forward, I'm asking that we remember to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a daily basis to allow us to be those that at the end of this life cycle, when we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be well pleased with us and that we will be well pleased with Him. do it. Oh Allah, plant our feet firmly on this path and allow us to die in a state of belief. Oh Allah, strengthen our understanding of this deen and give us information that is useful for us in this world and in the next. And oh Allah, make not this ummah of the Prophet Muhammad an object of test for the disbelieving people. Brothers and sisters, we have a few announcements here. The first announcement is, alhamdulillah, we really appreciate every time, donations are made, just in general, for any specific project. But I just want to say how much it is appreciated. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for the donations that when you ask that you give to the Al Ma'un Food Bank. We said before how the demand every single time we have a food bank once a month, the demand exceeds our ability to meet the needs of the people who come. So we're asking again that if you could make a contribution to the Al Ma'un Food Bank. We're also asking for donations to the Community Mosque Academy. Currently it's on a break. And somebody can help with the announcement after we make salat. I saw in one of the groups, it must have been the Community Mosque Academy group, I can't remember exactly what it was. I didn't see it in the Community Mosque group. But there is an event, and y'all can correct me, this weekend, I think it's for the family and kids of the students of Community Mosque Academy. It's like a picnic or something like that. I read it, in passing. Actually, while I was driving, I was trying to read it. But if this is something that you know about, please let others know about it. And because we encourage not just the parents of Community Mosque Academy students, but I think all of us should support. Like if you've had students who come from Community Mosque Academy, and you may have come from Community Mosque Academy, come and encourage our young people who are in the school today. And also the Community Mosque gym that's located in the basement of the school will be open this Saturday and Sunday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Inshallah. Come to Salah.
Allah